Welcome to the theater. Take a seat, grab some popcorn, and get ready for another horror movie double bill. This is Friday Night Fratricide.
Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Fratricide. What are you giggling at, Ewan?
Nothing. You'll see. You'll see what I'm giggling at.
Okay, fine.
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited that it's another Friday night.
We've got some stuff to talk about.
We've got lots of stuff, lots of exciting stuff to talk about.
I didn't even get through the intro. You started giggling at me. Yeah. Where did I get to? I think I was going to say...
It's Friday Night Fratricide.
Yeah, it's Friday Night Fratricide, and we are the Happy Brothers.
We are.
Especially happy tonight, for some reason.
Yeah. Why shouldn't I be?
Yeah, okay. I am Fraser.
And I am Ewan.
And yeah, we have another double bill for you tonight. What have we got? What have we got this week?
Best soundtracks.
Yes, we do.
Is the theme.
Yeah.
Yep.
Picked a couple of maybe not the most common ones for best soundtrack.
No.
Which is maybe a good thing. I don't know. But for me, like, The Fog would probably be up there. I said this last week. The Fog would be up there for best soundtrack for me.
The Fog's a great
if
one.
we hadn't already done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously any other John Carpenter film would be like a close second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, it's a given that all Carpenter soundtracks are going to be great.
Yeah. So I decided, to go with another film that I love that has a great soundtrack that I wasn't aware that you hadn't seen, which is good.
Yeah.
Because now I'm excited to hear about it. I picked Sunshine. Danny Boyle's 2007 sci-fi thriller / horror.
Yeah.
I will argue that it's horror, right? I will make my case, but I can see why it was billed as like a thriller.
Towards the end, it's definitely horror-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we talk about Sunshine first?
Yeah? Not even going to give an overview of what you picked?
Do you want to give... Okay, yeah, so...
We can?
In about half an hour, we'll pick up with my film, which is going to be... Or possibly longer. We'll pick up with my film, which was The Keep from 1983. Michael Mann's The Keep.
Yeah. Starring a very young Ian McKellen.
Very young Ian McKellen. It's got a great cast in it. It's got a fantastic soundtrack, which was done by the German synth rock band Tangerine Dream, who are just incredible. Michael Mann had worked with them before.
Was it Thief they did before?
He did Thief, which was his first film. Tangerine Dream had also done a film called Sorcerer, which was a William Friedkin film, and starred Rob Schneider from Jaws. It wasn't really a horror film, though, but it's got lots of horror people in it. Anyway,
spooky people.
Yeah. So we'll get to that.
Do you want to start off with
Sunshine?
Sunshine?
Start with Sunshine.
Kick off with Sunshine?
Excited to talk about Sunshine.
So, Sunshine, 2007, directed by Danny Boyle, fresh off the back of 28 Days Later. I don't know if he'd done anything between that, actually. But
was this 28 weeks later? Not
28 weeks later, maybe before that?
I think was 2006, maybe?
Fresh off the back of a horror film.
Yeah.
One of the two. He kind of took a bit of a shift from Trainspotting into the more obscure. And then I think this film after this was Trance, which I've not seen.
No.
That's James McAvoy and Rosario Dawson.
I like a James McAvoy.
Which was apparently very, very weird. So I don't really know. I've not watched it. Whatever. Written by Alex Garland, which I actually didn't know. I realised this for the first time when I was doing a bit of research.
Which one's Alex Garland?
Ex Machina.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Dread. He wrote Dread.
Dread is good.
He actually wrote 28 Days Later and
cool.
28 Weeks Later as well, or contributed. He did Annihilation.
Oh, cool.
If you've seen Annihilation.
Yeah, I haven't, but I've heard lots of great things about Annihilation. Okay.
Good things, not great.
I have heard great things, but okay, I'll take from you that it's
still,
good.
He's a good writer.
Yeah.
Either way, and I didn't realise that he wrote this. I was really surprised to hear that. And I just an absolute stacked cast.
Oh, fantastic cast.
I mean, I think we'll struggle to find a better cast in any film.
Very possibly.
It's just
really
so
great.
good. We've got Cillian Murphy in the lead role, Rose Byrne, Michelle Yeoh, Chris Evans, Benedict Wong, Hiroyuki Sanada, making a reappearance after The Ring.
After The Ring, yeah.
Troy Garrity and Cliff Curtis, who granted are probably the least
The two
notable
lesser known ones.
Mark Strong.
Mark Strong. Love Mark Strong.
Plays the villain. And Cheapo Chung does the voice of the spaceship Icarus, who is probably not a name you recognise, but if you're a fan of any British dramas from the last 10 years, she's been in Doctor Who, she was in His Dark Materials, she's been in quite a few of the sort of period dramas and stuff as well.
Cool.
Surprised me. Again, something I didn't know.
Who was she in Doctor Who?
She's done a couple of roles.
Doctor Who actor.
She's done a couple of roles. She was in Utopia. She played the big insect lady.
Oh yeah,
who's the master's assistant.
Yeah.
And she played another assistant to a villain later.
Okay.
Cool. It's hard to explain without going full Doctor Who mode, and I won't come out of it.
No, I know who you. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just amazing cast. Pretty much everyone pre their current fame, I guess, with the exception maybe of Hiroyuki Sanada, who has been popular forever in Japan, and this was him kind of getting famous in the West, I suppose. But yeah, Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Michelle Yeoh recently, Chris Evans, obviously, Captain America, Benedict Wong again in the MCU, Mark Strong's done Kick-Ass and Kingsman as well, and
loads of other things.
Yeah. So just the whole, I love the cat. Right?
Yeah, it is a fantastic cat.
So
it's
good,
great cast.
so good. So the basic plot of the film is it's set 30 years in the future?
2053.
2053.
30 years. Yeah.
And the sun is dying, which we all know is going to happen eventually. In this universe, it's happening a lot quicker than anticipated, and the Earth is frozen over. It's getting cold. Everyone's dying. So the leading scientists in the world have constructed a stellar bomb that they're going to transport to the sun and basically reignite it through this bomb. They're going to deploy it, and it's going to explode, and it's going to... Apparently, Professor Brian Cox, not Succession Brian Cox, consulted on this film, and after he did, loads of other scientific heads criticized him because it makes absolutely no sense. So you kind of have to switch your brain off a little bit to fully enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist by any means. I'm quite a science fiction fan. So generally, a lot of the kind of... I was looking at it more in terms of this is the consistency of the science fiction of it rather than the actual real life science of it. Either way, I got very frustrated with this film several times with the sciencey stuff. There's a note that I'm looking at right in front of me that happened fairly early on. They pick up a transmission from another ship because apparently the iron content of Mercury is acting like an antenna.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
It means that the iron in Mercury
is
amplified
as an antenna.
Yeah. Look, don't think about it too much, and you'll have a great time. Okay, so the ship, the Icarus 1 went off with the stellar bomb, and they lost contact with it after however many years it takes to get there. I think they say about 7 years. I can't remember exactly. And they decided that it's gone. We need to try again. So they send out the Icarus 2, and that's our current cast, and that's their plot. They're trying to get there. So yeah, quite early on in the film, they pick up the distress signal amplified by the iron content in Mercury.
Of course.
From the Icarus 1, they presumed were dead. And they basically make the decision to try and rendezvous with the ship, see if anyone's still alive, see if they can salvage some resources, and ultimately, if the bomb hadn't been deployed, then they would have 2 bombs instead of 1, so they'd have double the chance of actually succeeding the mission. Obviously, everything goes wrong, because if it didn't, there'd be no plot. So everything goes wrong. Trey, the ship's navigator, recalculates their route, but forgets to recalculate the sun shield, which is shielding them from the sun.
Yeah.
It's in the title. And so they some of the ship sort of burns away, and the shield disintegrates and whatever. So Kappa, Cillian Murphy's character, and Captain Canada Hiroyuki Sanada. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. I'm going really fast. Hiroyuki Sanada's character, who just, by the way, exudes captain energy.
Yeah,
like he is the captain.
He is. He's very in charge. He's very
gorgeous, handsome.
He really
dreamy.
is.
He really
is.
Handsome man.
Like, I don't think I really picked it up when I was watching The Ring.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I was watching it with my partner, and we were talking, actually, saying like, oh yeah, me and Ewan had picked up on him while we were watching The Ring a few weeks ago. Yeah, he's a really handsome man. She was like, oh, I haven't really seen him yet. And then like 20 minutes into the film, she was like, he is really handsome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, so we got approval. It's fine.
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, anyway, Kappa and Captain Kaneda go out to fix the shield, and Kaneda dies. They manage to fix the shields, but the ship kind of auto corrects and the shield burns him away and he explodes, and it's horrible. And poor Kaneda. And Kappa comes back, and it's all downhill from there, really.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like
everything goes tits up real fast.
Yeah, so they kind of, at that point, it burns away the oxygen garden that they've been procuring. Michelle Yeoh's character, Corazon, has been cultivating the garden to produce oxygen. It explodes and burns away, so they have no choice but to rendezvous because they don't have enough oxygen to make it to the sun. So they have to rendezvous with the Icarus 1. When they get there, they find that the crew is nowhere to be seen. There's dust everywhere, which they point out is, it's dead, it's 80% dead human skin. I'm like, did that really need saying? Like, that's like one of the very few lines in the film that really bugs me.
Yeah.
Because it's so like exposition-y in your face.
It bugged me as well, because they were like, oh, everything's covered in, like, it's not even dust. Like, okay, I'm going to spoil 5 minutes later into this film. It's not dust, it's ash.
Ash, yeah.
Because it is people, but they burned up because they got caught in the sun or whatever. But they walk in and they see all of this ash and they go, oh, it's dust. Oh, dust is 90% dead human skin. I wonder if this is dead human skin. And then it is, because it's ash. That's terrible writing.
Yeah, it's one of the very few lines in this film that really bugs me. However, that whole shot, or the whole scene of them boarding the Icarus 1, I love that whole scene. And the flashlight, whenever the flashlight passes the screen, it like pops up one of the crew members. It pops up like a face, and it's literally like one frame. Blink and you miss it, literally, and you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah,
and then 2 minutes later, they find that, I think it's in the kitchen. They find the picture of the crew members, and you realize it's been flashing like the dead crew members of the Icarus 1. I love it. It's really atmospheric and really creepy.
Do you want to hear the note that I wrote about that?
Please, yeah.
The weird subliminal images are very annoying and tacky. Okay. I hated it.
I can see we were going to have a difference of opinion on this.
We're going to have a different opinion on this entire film.
Oh, dear. I love it. I think it's really subtle, and, well, it's not
it's not subtle at all. It's awful.
It's not subtle in that you're going to see it, but it's a subtle bit of, like, foreshadowing. I really like it. I think it's really nicely done.
I hated it. I thought it was really obnoxious, really tacky.
Okay. Well, anyway, they find the dead crew. They were in the sunroom, the observation room, burned away because the shields malfunctioned or whatever, and they all died together in the room, holding hands, singing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
And at this point, it starts to get a bit. This is kind of the point in the film where it shifts from sci-fi into horror more. You're kind of not really knowing what's going on. The scenes are very dark. It's flashlight driven. You're kind of worrying what's going to happen, and then the ship decouples. The two ships decouple from each other. You get this huge. It's not even a jump scare, but like a huge sort of bang and crash and whatever. And the airlocks disconnect, and you realize that something is going on. It's not going to be straightforward. And they have to get back to the Icarus 2 by flying through space.
Yep.
Another just don't think about it too hard moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're because the airlocks are obviously detached. They are, to get back to the ship, they need to go through space. So they line up the two ships as close as they possibly can. Kappa gets in the suit because he's the most valuable to the mission. The other two guys, Chris Evans' character Mace and Troy Garrity's character Harvey, who's now become second in command, have to they wrap themselves in
tinfoil.
Yeah, like
big baked potatoes, and chuck themselves into space
and hold on to Kappa.
Yeah,
while it's Searle, Cliff Curtis's character, that has to manually blow the airlock. And he decides to sacrifice himself because he's got this weird obsession about seeing the sun. He starts to go a bit mad, despite being the psych officer.
There's no way that he was gonna, even if everything had gone perfectly, there was no way that he was making it back to Earth because he's given himself fucking stage 10 skin cancer.
Oh yeah, he's
he just sits in the sun.
He start peeling himself halfway through the film.
It starts off. He's he's not white, but he has kind of relatively light skin.
Yeah.
Then by this point in the film, he is brown because every waking minute he has when he's not working, he's just sitting looking at the sun.
Yeah.
He's so stupid.
And lowering the filter as far as he can possibly go because he has this obsession with the sun. Anyway, he blows the airlock and the three of them get thrust out, and it's supposed to be this really epic scene of them flying out through the airlock. Harvey flies off. He freezes to death instantly and he's gone, second in command no more. And Mace's character almost does, but Kappa grabs him at the last second and throws him into the airlock, and he manages to escape with minor frostbite, I guess. It wouldn't happen. He'd freeze instantly in real life, but whatever, right? Just bear with me, okay? Mm-hmm. It's good. I swear it's an enjoyable film. So from there, they realize that the only way to survive, to make it to the sun, to the drop point for the bomb, is they need to kill one of their own because they don't have enough oxygen for 5 people. And since the navigation officer, Trey, feels guilty and was on suicide watch anyway because he felt responsible for Kaneda's death, they're like, right, let's just be rid of him,
Let's kill him.
Let's just kill him. They make a vote and they're like, one man against all mankind, kill him. And it's really quite a brutal scene. I'm on their side ultimately, but they're kind of just so let's kill him. Mm-hmm. Kill the guy.
Yeah.
Why are you giving me that face?
I hated this whole.
Why?
Basically this point. At this point in the film, I had resigned myself to the fact that I really was not enjoying the film.
No.
There were so many aspects of it that I really didn't like. But this scene and the scene after, which I will get to, I absolutely hated. Okay. Because it's very long and it's so inconsistent. The characters' moods are jumping around constantly. They sit down and they're like, we need to figure out what we're going to do or we're all going to die. Let's go and kill Trey. And they vote on it. And then Rose Byrne refuses. They're like, we're only going to do it if it's unanimous. And then Rose Byrne's like, well, I'd think we shouldn't do it. And then Chris Evans is like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And then...
But the whole point is he was trying to be...
And then Cillian Murphy says something passive-aggressive. And I wrote it down. Chris Evans says, fuck you. What are you trying to remind us of? Our lost humanity? And that is the worst writing I've ever heard in my entire life. That sounds like someone making fun of somebody's shitty, unsubtle writing.
I've heard worse.
I think that is terrible.
I've heard worse.
Then, so I continue ranting. Immediately after we've just spent a few minutes of them arguing with each other about whether or not they're going to kill Trey, they're like, right, we're going to do it. They go through. He goes, gets a scalpel out of the drawer, does not notice that several scalpels are already missing, walks into the room, Trey's dead, he's slit his own wrists. Then Chris Evans starts freaking out. He's like, oh my God, how could this have happened? This is terrible. His blood is on your hands, Cillian Murphy. And it's like, you literally came here to murder him. You came into this room to kill him. And now you're calling Cillian Murphy a murderer because he It's terrible. I do not know how you like this film. I'm sorry, I've snapped. This is the worst film. This sucked so bad.
The whole point, right, is that Chris Evans' character he's
an idiot
trying to keep a level head, and he's trying to be like the tough guy and be like, right, I'm the one to make the decisions. I know what's right. But as soon as he walked into the room and he saw that Trey was dead, he was like, shit. My friend who I've spent the last 7 years with on a spaceship has killed himself out of guilt because of a decision.
And now I'm not going to get the chance to murder him.
Because of a decision. But would he actually have been able to murder him?
He had a knife in his hand.
Yeah, but he might not have actually done it.
He had a little vibrating knife in his hand. He's a psychopath.
We don't know. It's him just like not... Just they're all losing their minds. They're all losing their minds.
They've all lost their minds already.
Well, they've already lost their minds.
Everyone in this film is an idiot. And I hate... Honestly, the whole reason that we're in this is because Benedict Wong didn't realign the heat shields on the front of a ship. You're flying a spaceship towards the sun.
Because Kappa made the decision. He made the decision to go to the other ship.
That had already... it had already happened by the time that Benedict Wong
But
had
if he hadn't made
that
that choice, if they just carried on...
Yeah,
they would have been fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whose fault is it?
I don't think that was a bad choice.
Well,
I think Cillian Murphy was... Yeah, he just... It was whatever. Just picked it. Benedict Wong made a bad decision. And then the oxygen farm catches fire and they're like, oh, how are we going to put it out? Oh, I don't know. We'll pump more oxygen into it. And now we're going to suffocate it. Now the entire thing explodes and we're going to suffocate in space.
But they explain that because if they let the fire burn, there's a 75% chance of damage to other equipment.
Yeah.
So the fire would burn anyway. Yeah. The oxygen reserves would go anyway.
Yeah.
But there would be additional damage to the rest of the ship.
You know how you put a fire out in space? You take the oxygen out. You don't put more in.
But how would you take oxygen out in space?
Vent it out.
There's no windows in the green room.
There should be.
Why?
Have a vent. Because it's an oxygen-rich environment on a spaceship and it's going to catch fire. It's a fire risk. Well, they didn't. So you put a vent in to vent all of the oxygen out.
To make the spaceship.
Maybe they should have done. Maybe I'm smarter than fucking Professor Brian Cox. He didn't know what he was fucking talking about.
We're not even at the end of the film yet.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's what I was thinking when I was an hour and a half into this piece of shit.
Oh my god.
How are we not at the end yet?
Listen, you picked The Keep for me to watch this week.
The Keep was good.
Oh
The Keep was good.
I think we're going to have a genuine falling out by the end of this episode. Right, okay, so Trey's dead. They've got 4 people left on the ship. They ask Icarus to recalculate and be like, right, can we get to the end? And they say, no, there are 5 people on this ship. There's not enough oxygen. And everyone's like, oh, what? So Kappa goes and he finds a severely burned and disfigured and psychotic pinbacker who was the captain of the Icarus 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Strong. They've realized that, he's the one who blew up the airlock. He's completely lost his mind. There's like a vague sort of supernatural element to it. It's kind of ambiguous as to whether there is a supernatural element or if he's just like completely lost it. You don't really know. All the shots with him are really cool. Like they're really fuzzy. You never see him fully in focus.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight. He locks Cap in an airlock and proceeds to slowly kill the rest of the group. Well, he kills Michelle Yeoh and then tries to kill Rose Byrne and then chases her away while Chris Evans... And he sabotages the ship while Chris Evans goes in to fix it. He ends up getting caught in the coolant machine and freezes to death.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal way to go. And then we get this beautiful, beautiful scene. Don't roll your eyes at me. Beautiful scene of Kappa. He manages to escape the airlock. He like drills a hole in the door and then blows the airlock so it pulls the air out and like blows the lock.
Yeah.
And then he gets away and this is and the music swells and it's John Murphy's music while he's like making this epic jump to get to the payload. They're going to ditch the payload and blast the ship back so that he can go in and they can destroy the bomb and everyone wins. So he's like he's racing down the ship in the hallway and then he trips And then you're like, oh my god, he's only got a few minutes before the thing decouples, and oh my god. And then he pulls himself up and he gets it, and then he does this great leap through space, and he makes it, and he gets to the payload, and everyone cheers.
Yeah.
Except Ewan.
Except me. Except me. No, to be honest, around this bit, I
tuned back in.
It's not necessarily that I enjoyed it, but at least at this bit was probably my favorite aspect of the film, which is I decided that I wasn't going to be annoyed at you for making me watch this film this week, because this bit of soundtrack is genuinely really good.
It is amazing. The soundtrack through the whole film is great.
Yeah,
but
most of it so far I didn't necessarily love. I liked it, but it's very kind of ambient sci-fi. It made me think of the kind of music that would be on the background of like a sci-fi strategy video game or something. It's like very kind of chill, very... It's not in your face.
There's a few pieces that are good.
There probably are. I didn't think it was bad. Yeah. I just thought it was nothing particularly special. Yeah. This bit I did really like.
Yeah, I think this scene, like Danny Boyle's direction, the special effects. I don't know how you feel about it. I think the special effects are pretty good.
The special effects actually are another part that I did really enjoy.
They're not
a lot
bad,
of the shots of like the big long wide shots of out in space and the ship and everything. Very cool. I did enjoy
as long as you ignore the sounds of explosions in space. But to be fair, every sci-fi film does that, and it always bugs me.
Yeah,
with the exception of like Firefly is the one thing I can think off the top of my head.
Star Trek.
Does Star Trek not do sound in space? Do the warp engines? Do they not make noise? Do they not go
when they're inside the ship? That's a good question, actually.
Yeah,
I feel like they probably do.
The only thing I can ever think of, and the only thing that you'll ever hear me praise Joss Whedon on, is Firefly, because every single space shot is completely silent.
They probably do, actually, in Star Trek.
But sucks. Anyway, yeah. So just the visuals of this scene and the soundtrack, it's just amazing, and the costume design as well. The spacesuits look really unique.
Yeah, they're like cool. Gold because they've got
they're really reflective, and like tiny little visor and everything. And it's just great. So, yeah, Kappa, he's consigned that he's going to die. He makes it to the bomb. This huge, they say it's like the mass of Manhattan Island, I think is the comparison they make. So it has like its own kind of gravitational pull. It's like a big cube in the middle of the payload. Mm-hmm. And he finds Rose Byrne and fights off Pinbacker one last time. He like de-gloves him to jump off the side of the cube, and then they like re-center themselves because of the gravity on the side of the cube. I think that's kind of neat. I like it.
It is, but that isn't what would happen.
Yeah,
but like
turn the brain off for a second.
Yeah, but you would go, because you would have to, if you fall down one side, that means you would have had to walk up the other. When you're in the middle of one face of the cube, you'd be standing flat. But as you walk towards the edge, the slope would go up in order for it to go back down again.
Okay.
It wouldn't be flat until you hit the edge, and then suddenly you step over, and then it's flat again.
I don't know. Sure.
That annoyed me.
He makes it inside. He sets off the bomb, and they win.
Yeah,
they all win.
They do. I mean, all of the characters that we've seen,
they all die,
are dead, but they successfely reignite the sun.
They reignite the sun. There's the shot at the end. It's like there's a comment earlier on that's actually like it's just offhand. You really easily miss it. He says like the closer we get to the sun, the mass and the whatever of the sun like distorts space and time. So we get this great shot of Cillian Murphy like coming right up to the face of the sun, and time freezes around him, and it's really just, it's all artsy bullshit, right? But it looks nice. And then we get the last shot of his sister back on Earth receiving his final message, and the sun shines extra bright in the morning. And
she's in Australia. There's snow in Australia.
It's the Sydney Harbour.
But it's all covered in snow.
Yeah, it's neat.
And then the sun starts shining.
And then we get the great closing credits by is it Underworld? I think do the closing credits.
Is it?
I don't know. Underworld contributed to the soundtrack. It's Underworld and John Murphy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not them that do the final track.
You know how I mentioned there was that one bit of soundtrack that happened where I was like, okay, cool, I'm happy about watching this because great soundtrack. as soon as the end credits started, I was like, nope, back off. I'm back off
Really?
board. That sucks. The end
Really?
credit music, terrible.
I love it.
No, it sounds horrible.
I thought it was great.
No.
It's really like crunchy and metal. It's
Crunchy
like,
is a very good word for it.
yeah, but it's got this like raw like vibe to it.
It's just like
I loved it.
Michael Bay wah noises
But it's like
for every few seconds over the nothing music that was playing for the rest of the film.
well,
I wasn't into it.
I loved it.
I wasn't into it. And another little thing, right? When he calls his sister, because like we get at the beginning, they're like, we're approaching the sun, we're not going to be able to send messages back, and we get the scene. Cillian Murphy records a message to send back to his family, and then we see right at the very end his sister plays the message, and the first thing he says, which is the last line of dialogue in the film that wasn't a repeat of what we heard right at the beginning when we hear him recording the message. He greets his sister by saying, "Hi, sis," which is one of my pet peeves in dialogue writing, is when siblings greet each other as bro or sis.
Really?
26 years I've been alive. Have I ever called you bro?
No. I've probably
No.
called you bro though.
Humans don't talk like that.
I do.
You know, you don't call me bro.
I'm sure I have. Maybe not in the context
People
of like,
don't
hey
like,
bro, but like
I feel like anyone who writes that doesn't have siblings.
I don't know.
Only children
Some people do
write
talk like that.
I hate it every time I hear someone say it because it just sounds so
I feel like
clunky
you're
and
picking
terrible.
at things now.
No, like this is I picked at some things, but this is something that I always notice in any film, and it always bugs me because it just comes across as really unsubtle writing where they're like desperately trying to shoehorn in like trying to
family
show you who
relationship,
the
no.
character is.
I don't know. I've definitely heard people use it. Like I've definitely heard people in real life say like, "Hey, this is my sis."
Yeah, no,
know,
not like the word, like referring to someone as sis or bro or whatever is fine. Like I would never greet you by saying hi, bro.
But that's just how we don't talk that way, really.
Yeah, no one talks that way.
It's probably more like an American slang.
I don't think it is. I don't think anybody greets each other that way.
I don't know.
That bugged me. Anyway.
I dread to ask what your final rating of this film was.
Are you asking?
Do you have
wanna
any
ask?
further notes? Any more complaints?
But do you want me to just like list? You know, one is that I thought that it was really, really like there was lots of unsubtle foreshadowing that the AI was going to turn out to be evil, and then the AI didn't turn out to be evil, which annoyed me. Like in a sense, I was kind of relieved because I felt like a lot of the dialogue was kind of setting up the idea that the AI was going to be responsible for some of it or evil, or some of the way they talked about it. I was like, I could definitely see that being the twist at the end. And then it wasn't, which in a way it was a relief because I would have been annoyed because I thought that it was too obvious. But also I like an evil robot, so it was a lot of the sciencey stuff. Generally frustrated me.
I think that's people's biggest frustration. I think that's always the critique I hear from this film.
Yeah.
And it annoys me because it's like, just shut up. Just enjoy it.
A lot of the decisions that the characters make, I think, are quite stupid. There's a lot, like, the only reason that the whole thing goes wrong in the first place is because they don't realign the shield. So then when they do change the angle, it's like little bits of the ship have to stick out and go into the sun, and that causes them to get damaged. But then when they do that, that's what causes the oxygen farm to catch fire. And like, just it snowballed, and I feel like lots of people were kind of doing stupid things and like pumping more oxygen into the thing. That frustrated me. The cinematography overall, I really didn't like. No, the special effects were good, and there were good like long shots of space that looked very pretty, but pretty much all of the shots of the characters were like super shaky, super close up, and it was hideous. I like particularly found it difficult to watch because of how it was shot.
Okay.
The soundtrack was I had like one really good track. The rest was kind of generic. Some of it was really bad. Yeah, there really wasn't much that redeemed it for me. The acting was pretty solid. You've got a good cast of actors.
It is a good cast.
I didn't think that it was I don't think it's the worst film we've watched so far on the podcast, but it did come pretty close. I give it 1 star.
Okay.
This was a very disappointing watch for me.
I'm disappointed as well. I absolutely adore this film. I love it. I think it's amazing. I think the science is the biggest downfall for it, right? So it's definitely just switch your brain off. Don't think about it too much. Enjoy the science fiction. Don't think too heavy about it, right? But I love it. I love the acting. I love the cinematography. I love the visuals. The soundtrack's amazing. It's just like, I don't know what you're talking about that there's bad tracks. Like, all the tracks in it, any tracks that aren't like notably good are just great atmospheric.
Yeah, I think it was more I was just
fiction.
kind of underwhelmed by the more atmospheric side. I don't think they were bad. I just didn't think they were especially interesting.
You got I Am Clute, who do the intro song when they first do it, like a nice acoustic piece when you're getting to know all the cast, which is great. It's I love the villain. I love Pinbacker as the villain. I love that like pseudo supernatural element. Like, he's been bathing in the sun for so long, he's like become convinced that he's a god kind of thing. I just there's something really unique and weird about it that I kind of love, and I love that you don't ever see him fully, like his burned and charred skin. The camera's always dead shaky when he's around. It's just
the camera's dead shaky throughout the whole film.
Well, yeah, but particularly shaky when it's there. So I love it. I absolutely love this film. I've seen it probably more than any other film, actually, and I'm not exaggerating. Like, I've seen this film dozens of times.
That's wild.
I absolutely adore it. It's a 5 out of 5 for me.
That's wow.
It's a 5 out of 5 for me. I love it. I almost marked it down because of the like general sort of sciencey critiques with it.
Yeah,
but I was like, you know what? Nah. The scientists are wrong. You can just enjoy a film. Right. You don't have to worry about how real it is.
It's finally happened. We finally had a 5-1 split.
Oh, yeah. Let's wait and see how you rank The Keep.
I don't love The Keep. I enjoyed it, but I didn't. This isn't going to be like a double love it and hate it situation. Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm really sad that you didn't enjoy Sunshine, but there you go.
Well, you know what? I enjoyed Event Horizon, and Event Horizon is just Sunshine but better.
You're wrong. But okay, let's move on before we get into fisticuffs. Do you want to take us through Michael Mann's The Keep? Yeah,
The Keep. It's pretty good. It's a very weird film. Early 80s. It's set in the early 40s in Romania. It is all about a keep, which gets
The Keep,
which gets taken over by Nazis right at the beginning of the film. They kind of have taken control of the area, and they're decided they're going to outpost there, and they're going to kind of investigate the sort of historical stuff that's going on. And while they're there, a bunch of the Nazis try and steal some crosses that are around. They've got these kind of T-shaped crosses that are up covering all of the walls. They get told that they're made of nickel, but they find that one is actually made of silver. So they try and steal it, and they break open this vault right in the middle of this keep that is holding some kind of ancient being called Molasar, who breaks out and goes on a rampage, basically killing Nazis. And then various characters are kind of involved in trying to keep him recontained. It's got a fairly good cast, I thought, and a goes off the rails at the end. I can't defend the end of this film. The last half hour of
Can
this
you
film,
defend the start or the
I
middle?
can defend the
Because
start.
I can't.
I can defend the start and the middle. The end of the film I didn't particularly enjoy. There's a whole thing about there's a talisman in the keep, and if it gets out of the keep, then Molasar's free and he's just gonna kill everybody on the planet or whatever. And Scott Glenn shows up and he's like a magical kung fu master or whatever, and then the film ends. Yeah. Didn't love the ending. But the first hour of this 90-minute film or 100-minute film or whatever I enjoyed. Good cast. You've got Ian McKellen playing a professor or a doctor of history or something they have to convince the Nazis to let him out of a concentration camp, which is a fun scene, in order to get him to help with all of the research into what's going on. You've got Robert Prosky playing a priest, which is pretty good. You've got, right at the beginning of the film, someone that I know you love, William Morgan Shepherd.
I didn't even
notice
him.
William Morgan Shepherd right at the beginning.
I think I did actually notice him in the cast, but yeah, I don't remember seeing him.
He's the guy when the Nazis first arrive. He's like, my family lineage protects the keep. My father and his father, and now I'm going to pass it on to my sons.
I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, that's William Morgan
really
Shepherd.
Annoying because actually he was all right.
He's really good. The main guy that's at the main Nazi at the beginning is played by Jürgen Prochnow, who's really good. I like him. He was the captain in Das Boot, and then he was Sutter Kane in The Mouth of Madness.
Oh yeah,
a little while later as well. He's kind of has a whole thing where he's a Nazi, but also he talks about how he would have sided against the Nazis in the Spanish Civil War, and then at the end he denounces the Nazis and he gets killed for it. So he's kind of a sympathetic Nazi.
What a great character to include in your film.
I don't want to say a morally grey character, because he is still a Nazi and clearly not a great character, but he there's Nazis and then there's Nazis in this film, there's they're all evil, but there's the ones that are just we're gonna kill civilians until we get what we want, and then there's Jürgen Prochnow who's maybe don't kill civilians. And
I hated that. That was one thing that I came away from this film really quite irritated about.
Yeah, I didn't.
I was the whole first 15 minutes of the film or so, when the Nazis are all getting killed and the guys are coming in, they're being like, "That's another one dead, sir," and they're like, "Oh my god, what's happening here?" And I was like, are these the good guys in this film? Am I supposed to be sympathizing that Nazis are getting killed?
No.
And I was like, I do not care.
No.
Good.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be sympathizing with the Nazis in general. I think Jürgen Prochnow is supposed to come across as a more sympathetic character. I'm not entirely sure why.
That was it. That whole scene where he talks to who was it?
It's Ian McKellen's daughter.
It was his son that served in the Spanish War.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the war is. My history is not good either.
Spanish Civil War.
The Spanish Civil War. Against Nazis or against fascism?
It was it was a civil war. There were there was a fascist side and then there was the anti-fascist side. The fascist one, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then he was like,
wait, they might not have done. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know if that's. I'm 90% sure the fascist one. No, they did, because that was how we got Generalissimo Franco. Anyway,
but yeah, the Nazi was like, yes, but in that war I would have been fighting alongside your son. I was against the fascists. I'm like,
you're a Nazi. You're not against the fascists.
You joined them. What is your problem, man?
Yeah.
I don't know. It really bugged me. I was just like, this is not an enjoyable film to watch.
Yeah.
I cannot take a film seriously when you're trying to get me to sympathize with a Nazi.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. I just can't. Done.
Yeah. I'm not sure what was going on with that one. It made me really curious what the book was like. This was based on a book. And I feel like the character must have been more fleshed out in the book.
I did get this feeling there was a lot missed.
I got the end and I was like, this is there's no way they were just the main character, he's a Nazi, but he's fine. And then at the end he gets killed because he doesn't want to be a Nazi anymore. I'm there's got to be more nuance to that, guys. I'm sorry. Michael, there's got to be. So, yeah, okay, right. Ignore that. Ignore Jurgen Prochnow's character. Well, not entirely, because I think he gives a good performance, but, like, ignore his character. I think it's got some really good visuals, even from the very opening of the film.
The visuals are pretty much the only thing about this film I enjoyed.
Did you not like the soundtrack?
No.
No?
I do not like Tangerine Dream. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. They're too boring.
Okay.
In a generous way.
Fair
like
enough.
I appreciate what they have done for electronic music. I see the appeal, but for me it's like 6-7 minute tracks of like the same tune, and unless I'm like taking some mushrooms or something, that's not the kind of vibe I like to go for. If I'm listening to a soundtrack, I want like punchy, notable pieces. I don't want like long, drawn out epics, you know?
It is a little repetitive.
Yeah, and I couldn't vibe.
However, I enjoy it.
However, the ending song, which I did not recognize at first, but I recognized the tune from somewhere and was like, I know that, but why do I know that? And realized that it's Walking in the Air, a remix of Walking in the Air.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, interesting choice.
Very weird choice.
Kind of vibe with it, but sure.
Very weird choice.
That was the one bit I liked. But yeah, the visuals, two scenes in particular. The first scene where the Nazis go and get the cross, there's like these great slow-mo shots. It kind of looks like a cologne commercial. Do you not think? You can see like Dolce & Gabbana in the corner while this like suited Nazi like runs up and down corridors with smoke billowing everywhere.
Yeah.
It looked very like artistic. And then the scene where Molisar's carrying Eva down the hallway with the smoke, that was actively gorgeous.
Because he starts as like a smoke being,
and
then he kind of takes physical form later, but this like right in the middle where like you can see hands, you can see like the shape of his head, and you can see he's got like glowing eyes.
But just all the smoke,
but it's just
like
surrounded by smoke.
It was like reversed, in some way, because you can see the smoke sort of.
It's
that,
like
that
billowing
effect,
backwards.
And it just, I don't know, it was shot really, really nicely.
Yeah.
But that's all I have.
Okay, fair enough. I like in terms of like the cinematography, I like the opening scene with like the shots of the characters and their convoy arriving, and then the first few scenes when they're actually in the. Oh God.
You all right?
Yes, when they're actually in the keep. And the design of a lot of it I thought was really cool. Like, it's very big, wide, open spaces with this like dark stone walls and the silver crosses dotted around, and there's lots of kind of just long, mostly empty shots of like Jurgen Prochnow wandering around.
Yeah, the set design was quite nice. Was it shot like on location? Was that
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know.
And then towards the end, there's a scene, like the big final confrontation scene. Generally not great, but they're in the keep and then they leave the keep, and the villain, I guess, the kind of head Nazi, the evil one, not Jurgen Prochnow,
not the good Nazi,
not the less evil Nazi that is Jurgen Prochnow. He runs, he wants to escape, and he leaves, and all of the vehicles are like charred and everyone's dead, and the entire surrounding area is just like black and ash, and there's this huge backdrop of like the walls of the keep, and it looks very kind of ethereal. There's all this like fog and mist and smoke and everything, and I really liked that. No I mean, it was fine, right? There was a lot of this film that I didn't enjoy as well.
The film is very grey. The colour palette is not particularly appetizing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just... It feels like a very dull movie, and that goes beyond just the visuals. Like,
it's very slow.
The dialogue is pretty boring. The whole plot as well, like, I don't really know what the message was. Like, you watch a film and it's got a beginning, middle, and an end, right? And you've got a journey to go on, right? as much as you didn't like it, Sunshine, you got a journey to go on, you got a plot, you follow the plot.
That's true.
The Keep just didn't have that. It was like a series of things happening, and then like 20 minutes from the end, it kind of reveals what the plot was, and then wraps everything up.
Yeah.
And then there's no consequence to like anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't like that. I feel like conceptually I liked it because generally the idea of like the Nazis, their like arrogance and their looting and their plundering awakens an evil spirit, which is supposed to kind of represent. He says something at some point about like they've been killing my people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's kind of the implication that it's like I don't know, like a totem of Judaism or something, I guess.
Oh.
So the idea that it's this like representative the Jewish people killing Nazis,
Yeah.
supernaturally, I liked. But then after maybe 20 minutes of the film, I was like, oh, that's not really what this is. It's like, it's really slow. I really like the first 20 minutes of it because I love the soundtrack and I like the visuals of the opening. And then it trailed a lot in the middle, and then at the end was just rubbish.
It really bugged me, okay? Because Ian McKellen's character, I can't remember their names.
I just call them by their actors.
Yeah,
It's
Ian
fine.
McKellen's character, he like has a disease. What is scleroderma? I think it is.
Yeah.
He has, so he's really decrepit at the start of the film. When I was watching it, I was like, this is like the 80s. He wasn't that old at that point.
Yeah.
He wasn't that old. And then he gets like
De-aged.
healed
Yeah.
and back to normal. I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. He was in makeup. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. But he teams up with Molisar to retrieve the relic and free him in exchange for Molisar ridding the world of Nazis. His promise is that he'll rid the world of Nazis. And then you've got the other guy, what's his name?
Jurgen Prochnow.
No, yeah, is he? The other supernatural guy with the eyes.
Oh, no. Yeah, Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn's character, right? He turns up from nowhere. He got a mystic message or whatever.
He was in Greece.
He was in Greece just chilling.
He was having a Mamma Mia moment.
And then then there's this, and this, it's a silly little thing, right? But it bugged me. The shot of him on the boat from Greece was legitimately like 4 or 5 minutes long, and it was just the boat
Yeah.
on the water.
There's a lot of nothing in the middle of this film.
Like there was no reason for that shot to be longer than 20 seconds. And I sat there and watched it, and I actually started looking at my watch like, is this a bit? Are they like,
how long is this going to go on for?
are they teasing the audience?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, so Scott Glenn, he is supernatural as well. He like comes up to some Nazis, and it turns out that he's superpowered or something as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever really explains it.
Not really. He bleeds green when he gets shot, and he like hurls a Nazi off a bridge. He's like super strong, I guess.
But anyway, at the end of the film, when Ian McKellen's going to free Molisar and put an end to the Nazis, he pops up and he's like, no, don't free him. That's what he wants. He's going to unleash terror on all mankind. And Ian McKellen's like, but he's going to kill the Nazis. And the guy's like, no, you have to trust me, the random guy with no clear motivation, one way or the other.
Yeah.
You need to trust me. And Molisar's like, no, you need to trust me, the other demon with no clear motivation as to what I'm going to do. It's like, who's the... What, I need some kind of dial to figure out who's the good and the bad here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, like, even at the end of the film, I didn't know, was Molisar actually evil? It never actually explains. It never confirms if he was going to destroy mankind, or if he would have held up his bargain and just killed Nazis.
Yeah.
It doesn't explain it, and that got to me so badly. It was like, but he just... Neither of you have a convincing argument as to why the other one's evil. There's no, like, clear motivation on either side. So I was like, why? And the only reason he doesn't free Molisar is because he's like, you need to be rid of your daughter. But the only reason he says that is because her daughter fucks Scott Glenn and then has like loyalty to him for some reason that isn't explained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much like Jürgen Prochnow's character, I feel like this plot had more nuance in the book, and it was really lost in translation trying to turn it into a film.
I have to believe that.
Because there's a lot that just does not make sense. The ending feels very rushed.
Yeah.
There's the final scene is just like Scott Glenn kind of standing in like a glowing light.
It gets pulled in.
And I was just like, Jürgen Prochnow's going into space, I guess. I guess he's an alien or whatever. Like, if that had been what it turned out to be, I wouldn't have been surprised. I would have been disappointed, but I wouldn't have been surprised.
Well, apparently, I was looking it up. Apparently, Michael Mann's original cut of the film was like 2.5 hours long or something.
That makes sense.
And then they trimmed it, showed it to a test audience, said it was still too long, and not received well, so they trimmed it even further for the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
So God knows how much was actually trimmed.
I have no idea.
But
maybe that scene with Scott Glenn on the boat was actually like 45 minutes.
It was like a majority of the film. It was real time.
Yeah.
Traveling from Greece.
How long would it take you to get from Greece to Romania? That can't be that long of a boat trip, right?
It's got to be a few hours at least.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just very few redeeming qualities to this film.
One thing about it. Yeah, so like visuals I liked, the music I really liked. One thing that I was very hit and miss was the acting. I liked Jürgen Prochnow's performance as much as his character was not great. I thought he gave it his all. I surprisingly really liked Robert Prosky's performance as well as the priest, because I've basically not seen him in much else at all other than like bit parts in comedies. I think the thing that I'm always going to associate him with is that episode of Frasier.
Who's he in Frasier?
He's, oh God, what's the character called? T.H. Houghton.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't recognize him.
Yeah. I suppose he looks a bit younger. It was maybe like 10 years earlier. And he doesn't have white hair. He's got like...
It's like a big black beard.
Yeah. And he kind of goes mad halfway through the film and starts shouting. He's a priest and he starts shouting about like God compared to science and all that. And then you never see him again. He's like bleeding out his mouth at one point.
Yeah.
And you never see him again. Another thing that was probably mistranslated from the book, I would hope. But like, I thought that he gave a pretty solid performance. Unfortunately, Ian McKellen, I have to say, gave a notably bad job. Did a notably bad job acting in this film.
I don't know. For me, his acting was fine, but his accent
wasn't good.
Was it? It was supposed to be like an American accent,
It was supposed to be like an American accent.
Yeah.
I do not know why, because presumably
work.
he was supposed to be Romanian, or at least European.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he was trying to do an American accent.
Yeah, like I did notice that. I didn't think his acting was awful, but I thought his accent was pretty not great.
Yeah, didn't like his acting in that one. Yeah, Scott Glenn wasn't good. He was very wooden as well. Alberta Watson, who played Ian McKellen's daughter, was okay.
She was fine.
Her character didn't really do an awful lot other than be like, I love my father and I want him to be okay. And then, I'm going to fuck Scott Glenn.
Yep.
I'm going to fuck Magic Man Scott Glenn.
In a very erotic and
very
lengthy
scene, very
sex scene.
Longer than it had to be. Yeah. And actually, one other relatively good acting job, he's not in the film an awful lot, is the actor that plays Molisar. Mostly like voice work, really. Michael Carter, who I'm giving a shout out to partly just because he's Scottish.
Oh.
He's from Dumfries.
Oh.
But also...
How about that?
It's another Doctor Who actor.
Is he actually?
Yeah. You would absolutely not recognize him, or like you would not be able to guess.
Tell me the episode.
Even then, he was a background character. He was an extra. His very first acting job ever was as a unit soldier in Mind of Evil.
Excellent.
Which is fun.
That is funny.
But the main reason that I want to give him a shout out is because he is in one of my favorite horror films. He's in a very famous scene in one of my favorite horror films, even though he's quite a minor character. In American Werewolf in London, the really famous scene in the London Underground when there's like the point of view from the werewolf as he's chasing that businessman through the tunnels. That's him.
Ah,
The businessman that's getting chased down. That's Michael Carter.
he's the businessman.
And then he was in Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
He was Bib Fortuna. He was Jabba the
Was
Hutt's...
he really Bib Fortuna?
Jabba the Hutt's mate with the big tendril around his neck.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, that was him. That was Michael Carter.
Classic.
Hi, Michael.
Do you think he's listening?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I'd love to meet Michael Carter. He seems like a champ.
Sorry we didn't like your film. You were one of the better aspects of it.
You were one of the better aspects. I liked Molasar. I thought he was pretty good.
It wasted potential for like a pretty good like demonic villain.
Oh,
In
definitely.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
Either a demonic villain or a demonic hero killing Nazis.
well, that
One
who
of the
knows?
two.
Who knows?
If this had been more, I actually have an idea for a film that would probably unfold kind of like how I wanted The Keep to be, and it would be set during the Scottish War of Independence, so like kind of like Robert the Bruce, William Wallace, Braveheart kind of era, and it would be about a wolver, like a wolf spirit, killing English soldiers that are occupying a Scottish village.
Okay.
Yeah. And like that's what I want. I want a supernatural story about a bunch of asshole evil colonist soldiers getting their fucking shit pushed in by an evil monstrous deity.
Not sure how I could feel about you comparing the English to Nazis.
Well, you know, the ones that were burning down villages and kidnapping children.
I mean, yeah.
We might have to cut this, but like 1,000 years ago.
I just want to make sure that I separate myself from that opinion of yours.
I'm not talking about the English now.
Okay, good.
We've all seen Braveheart.
Yeah.
I'm talking about whoever was... Yeah, neither have I. I'm talking about whoever it was that was in Braveheart. You know, those ones. The evil ones.
Evil English ones, yeah. Okay. Well, what did you give it?
I gave it 2.5 stars. Because I think it's one of those films that if you particularly like the concept, if you really like Tangerine Dream, maybe give it a go. I liked it about as much as I didn't like it. I was more kind of bored and confused by the end than I was like not enjoying it, you know? It opened strong. Maybe watch the first half hour and then give up.
Okay.
What did you rank it? How did you get?
I gave it a very generous 1.
Okay.
Very generous.
Fair enough.
And like the majority of that 1 is pretty much for that scene of Molasar coming down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
That smoke shot was beautiful. That's one of the most gorgeous shots I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
Like that really blew me away. I thought it was amazing. The rest of the film, I truly did not know what to think.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know who the good guys were. I didn't know who the bad guys were.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Nazis were the bad guys, but then they were kind of framed almost as sympathetic. So I didn't understand if I was meant to think that they were evil or if I was meant to think that they were the good guys in the story.
Mm.
And then we had Molasar versus Scott Glenn, and I was like, which one of these is like? There was no indication to tell which of them was actually telling the truth.
Yeah.
About the other being like a liar and deceiving people for their own good. So I just the whole plot completely fell apart.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. Most of the film was just so grey and so dull, and just the soundtrack in the background was just like putting me to sleep. I couldn't. It's
Fair
a
enough.
chill soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, love it or hate it, it is very chilled. But I think for a film like this, it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'd probably rather see. I was going to say see it more in like a sci-fi film like Sunshine, but I don't know if I would.
No, maybe not.
I was going to say maybe it would work better. You know what? It would work better is in a film like Stranger Things.
I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
In like a sort of coming of age 80s sci-fi film. is where I think it sits really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
But here it just, I don't know, it didn't. It was too cheery and upbeat for a film where Nazis were executing people. I was like, this doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It doesn't vibe, man. So yeah, I couldn't give it more than a 1. That's
Okay.
I very, very nearly gave it lower as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I saw when I was looking, after I watched it, I went back and had a look through like some of the soundtracks and stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And someone commented on one of the soundtracks like, the best movie of the 80s. And I'm like,
no, God,
have
no.
you seen a single other film from the 80s?
Yeah.
Because if you have, it's probably better.
Yeah.
And yeah. So apparently there are people who enjoy this film.
Yeah. You know who really doesn't enjoy this film? Michael Mann.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't know if it was. I didn't know that it got cut down so much. I don't know if it was because of the cuts. If he really liked the first cut and then had to get it cut right the way down. But he hates this film. So it got a very, very limited DVD release. And to this day has never gotten an HD release. Because he's basically like, no, I don't want anyone to watch this film because I hate it. And I think that's a bit harsh. But obviously not everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Obviously you are on the side of Michael Mann on this one.
Oh yeah.
It did make me want to watch.
Warn us.
It did make me want to watch more of Michael Mann's films because like
I think upon watching like the visuals and the cinematography and direction side of things, I'm wondering what else he's done that maybe has a better script.
Yeah. One that is film of his that I didn't particularly love, but more because it's kind of a crime thing, it's not really my scene, was Heat.
Heat's with Al Pacino.
With Al Pacino and Robert De Niro
very
and
well received,
Val Kilmer. Yeah, that
was him.
Pretty popular one. Also Manhunter.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah, with
Brian
the other Brian Cox.
Brian Cox, with actor Brian Cox.
Yeah.
With Succession Brian Cox. The first Hannibal Lecter film.
Yeah.
That a lot of people forget about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a good one to watch. We should
That
watch
would be
that
a good one,
point.
actually. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. I was actually going to suggest as a Michael Mann as a theme at one point, purely because I wanted to watch this and also Manhunter, but yeah.
We'll find Manhunter another.
We'll find Manhunter another
We'll
one.
do Serial Killers or something at some
Serial
point.
Killers would be a good one.
But not next week.
Not next week.
No, because whilst we had best soundtrack this week, and I think both have their merits, I think it's going to come down to personal preference.
Yeah.
On this one, definitely. We will be moving on to the theme of vehicles.
Ooh.
Spooky vehicles.
Very exciting.
Next week.
That's a good one.
Yes. I feel like I didn't really round things up very nicely there. I kind of jumped straight into next time.
That's fine.
Have we said everything we need to say?
I think so.
Yeah.
We both really didn't like each other's choices.
Yeah.
You liked your own choice better than I liked my own choice.
Yeah.
Next week I'm going to try and pick something that you won't absolutely hate. I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
Let's see. What have you got for us for vehicles?
On the theme of vehicles. Okay, I definitely wanted to go for something more on the fun side because I like a goofy movie. Mm-hmm. Not literally a goofy movie, the Disney one.
The Goofy movie.
The Goofy movie. But like I like a movie that is goofy. And this is one that is known for being not necessarily silly, but definitely wild. A lot of people talk about it as being one of the only movies that has been directed entirely by cocaine.
Okay.
Stephen King's directorial debut, and to this day,
the
only film he has ever directed, Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, Ewan.
It's Maximum Overdrive, baby.
Oh my god. Okay, fine. I'm gonna have to watch it then. So the last few weeks we've been doing a randomizer to pick our themes because we're kind of at that point where we're like, let's just keep it fresh.
Yeah.
We'll keep it unknown for each of us, so that's fine. So when vehicles came up, I was like, right, the obvious one for vehicles is probably Christine.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably like the one that you think of when you think horror movie vehicle. It's like, I don't want to go with the obvious one. I've not seen Christine, but I was like, I'll go with something different and new. So I had a look what kind of horror films include vehicles and what have we got. And Maximum Overdrive came up.
Yeah.
And I had a look. And I had a look at the reviews. And I had a look at how awful it supposedly is.
I think it's fun bad, though. I think this is going to be
Have
one
you seen
that's-
it before?
No.
Okay.
But I think this is going to be one that's going to be like a fun watch because it's
Is it Emilio Estevez?
It's
isn't it?
Emilio Estevez and Yardley Smith, Lisa
Yardley.
Simpson,
Yardley.
Yardley Smith. Very funny. I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun.
Okay.
Talking about movies you got to turn your brain off for.
Jeez, yeah. Okay, fair enough. I'll practice what I preach.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, my pick for next week, I had a bit of a dig and had a look at what looked good in terms of vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I have found another film that I have not seen, which is a bit fresh. I know I've been picking films that I've seen before, so I want to go with something completely new. And I found a film called Race with the Devil,
Okay.
starring Peter Fonda.
Right.
Basically, it's an RV road trip film
Mm-hmm.
where Peter Fonda and his friend and their wives escape a satanic cult
That sounds pretty cool.
in an RV.
Okay, I'm into that.
That sounds like good fun.
That does sound like good fun.
So I thought I'd give it a watch. It's from 1975.
You know what
Could be a bit wild.
You know what would have actually been another good one for vehicles? Duel.
I did think about Duel as well.
I've not seen Duel properly ever. It's been a long time since I've watched any of it. I would like to give it a go again. I love a bit of early Spielberg.
That was, yeah, see, I have seen Duel a couple of times. I do love it, and that's why I didn't pick it.
Yeah,
Because
you
I
want to go with
I
something
want
new.
to go with something new.
Yeah, fair enough.
But there you go. If you've got other films that you'd want to watch on the theme of vehicles, you've got
Yeah.
Christine, you've got Duel.
Yeah, we can.
Don't know what else.
Well, we've both gone for road vehicles this time.
Mm-hmm.
We could. There's plenty of horror movies about trains.
Yeah.
There's plenty
Or
of horror movies on
boats.
planes, boats.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, there's all sorts. We can do different themes. We can do vehicles part 2, hovercrafts if we want. There's eels in my hovercraft. That could be.
I bet there's a B movie set on a hovercraft.
Set on a hovercraft, probably.
There has to be.
There are so many about sharks. There's got to be at least
Yeah.
one that's on a hovercraft, right?
Hovercraft versus shark.
Yeah,
There's got to be.
yeah,
If not, we're going to make it.
yeah.
Right. Well, that's us for this week. Maybe a bit of disappointment on both sides, I think,
Yeah.
for these
Unfortunately.
movies, but hey ho, it's not always going to be a winner.
Let's see. Let's give Maximum Overdrive a go, and we'll reconvene next week.
Yeah, let's hope there's something to enjoy in Maximum Overdrive. Cool. Okay, well, we'll see you next time, folks. Have a great week.
Bye bye.